Stick around for a sec. Rise of Skywalker review is non-spoiler, alright? So don't leave. No spoilers will be discussed here. Hey, I'm back. And it's just another day. This is my camera. I am not using my camera because I forgot my to put the SD card in, so I'm using my phone and I'm using the light that's on my camera to record while holding a poster, while holding this popcorn bucket. So it's, oh, look what we got here! My best friend Joe about to go see Star Wars again! Hey! Yeah, he spoiled a little scene for me on his Snapchat story. Thought that was funny, huh? Yeah. The Rise of Skywalker. It happened. It's here. What are my thoughts? I'd say, I forgot where I parked. I'd say it was definitely good. It was good. You know, there are a lot of people who are expecting a lot of things from this, and some people aren't expecting a lot, and other people are expecting a lot. There's a lot of stakes for this movie right now that it just can't ever overcome for everybody, and I think that people going into this movie expecting that there's going to be nothing good are wrong, and I think that people going into this movie thinking that everything's going to be good are wrong. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, it's good. It's not terrible, but it's not great. But the bottom line, I guess, for this movie is that I left feeling satisfied. I apologize if this is a very, very kind of different review that I've done. There's just a lot. I feel like I just kind of have to sit down and think about this for a sec, you know? Which I am. Yeah, you know, like this movie leaves you with a lot to think about. So much happened. Like, it's a 2-hour and 20-minute movie, and it just went like this. There was barely any room to breathe. With the runtime that they had and how much they were trying to pull off, sometimes it just felt like it was going way too quick. And I wish it slowed down a little bit, because some things didn't quite fit in. I'd say that's my biggest complaint, is that certain things just happened, and then the story just moved on. There was no time to kind of contemplate what happened or explore it further. Ideas weren't really fleshed out, and I'll get into that a little bit more later when I thought about it more. Not spoilers, guys. None of my videos are ever spoilers, at least these kinds of videos. Yeah, I gotta get home. It's freezing cold, obviously, but yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Hopefully, I'll have collected my thoughts a little bit more, because it's a lot. I mean, it's not bad. It's just like, it was great. It was good. There were parts that were great, but, you know, I got to think about it some more. So, I'll catch you guys soon. All right, bye-bye. Time to talk Star Wars. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Real Reviews. My name is Josh LeBlanc, and I just saw Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. So more than usual, I'm going to keep this review extremely non-spoilered, because I understand that there are a lot of different definitions of what's considered a spoiler these days, and a lot of people love Star Wars, or at least love to not get spoiled for Star Wars, and I'm going to do my best to just not do that. So especially with this review, it's going to be non-spoiler, no plot details. I'm just going to talk about the elements of the film that I liked, some of the elements of the film that I didn't like. With that being said, let's get into it. The number one thing you should do if you go to see this movie is to keep an open mind. You know, because there are a lot of people who are going to go into this movie already hating it. People thought they were going to hate it before the movie even came out, you know, before we even got the first trailer ever, you know, back in April or whatever it came out. And I think that's a really unfair thing to do whenever you're seeing a movie, is that you can't say if it's good or bad until you watch the movie, and it's really important, especially for this one, given how divisive the last movie was, that you go into it like open to anything, because there's a lot of stuff to like here, just judging the film solely by itself as opposed to comparing it to everything that's come before, or just go into it expecting anything, being open to anything, and I think you'll have a great time. So first things first, I'm just going to talk about the craft of the movie, because I think that's a really important aspect to a lot of these movies that people kind of forget because they just kind of go along with the ride. And the ride is there. It's good. It's fun. But I want to talk about some of the elements of this movie that are most impressive to me from a filmmaking standpoint. So the first thing that really stood out to me is that, well, like the last movie, and I guess like the last movie before that, the movie is extremely well made. You can tell that there's a lot of passionate people working on this project. For example, the cinematography in this movie is breathtaking. It is such a gorgeous film to look at, and everything is framed on this epic scale. Everything feels huge. You know, it's the last movie in this entire saga. It feels like it. Everything has this grandiose effect to it that makes everything feel big on a universal scale, which is very important for movies like this, and it makes it more enjoyable for me as I sit there and get to marvel at all these great images that appear on screen. Sound design is also extremely eargasmic. I don't know if it's Ben Burt who still works on the sound design for here. It probably is, but I'm not totally sure. But there are some really great moments where, like, if you see this in a theater, your seat is going to be rumbling, and it's going to be a really, really cool experience to be immersed in this great looking film, in this great sounding film. And on the topic of sound, John Williams also does deliver with his score. He doesn't exceed expectations. Nothing really stood out too much, but he makes it a very emotional ride by combining a lot of the best elements from the previous Star Wars films, which is also some of his best work as a composer, and bringing it together in one really enjoyable experience that made me smile a lot. I'd say that this movie is also well directed. It's directed by J.J. Abrams, who also directed The Force Awakens. But I would be wrong if I said that it was better than The Last Jedi in terms of its direction. A lot of people, I feel like, hate the story of The Last Jedi, and in turn they hate Rian Johnson. But when you really look at the movie and you break it down just from a craft point of view, it's extremely well directed. Rian Johnson has such a unique style of filmmaking that I love. If you saw Knives Out, you understand what I'm talking about. And some of that was missing here. I couldn't help but feel like we were missing an important member of this team that made this movie. But J.J. Abrams still does a good job. I'll get into a little bit more of some of my issues with him in the film in just a moment. With that being said, let's go into the story. Once again, I'm going completely non-spoiler with this. I'm just talking about elements of the story that I liked and that I didn't like. No specific plot details. Right off the bat, this movie is a lot to take in. I'd say that this can kind of mostly be attributed to Abrams' style of directing. If you saw The Force Awakens or Star Trek movies or Mission Impossible 3 or Super 8, he's a very fast-paced director. He likes to keep scenes moving, and it's really great because sometimes it can provide a very exhilarating rush of excitement while you're watching the movie, but in a movie like this with so much crammed into it, it can sometimes feel too fast, rushed, like certain scenes are brushed over really quickly, when really you feel like there should have been a moment to kind of sit down and breathe and take in what just happened, because there's a lot going on in this movie. They kind of put that upon themselves. With this big burden they put on themselves of trying to cap off all 9 movies, I feel like we needed some more just meat to this movie to really explore a lot of the plot threads to its fullest extent and to really soak in this adventure, because it's just so much stuff happening. They add more characters, and there's more lore that gets explored, and I wish we had just a
little bit more time, 15-20 minutes, just to, you know, take it all in. I mean, this is the final movie in a 9-story saga, a 9-film saga. I wish we had just a little bit more. Yeah. But despite all this, I still think this movie is extremely fun. I loved the story that they went with. Even still, it was extremely exciting. It was a fun ride, and in the end, I was left satisfied. This movie really satisfied my closure that I desired from this saga, from it being the last film in the saga. You know, I'm not going to go into anymore. Just we're going to move on now to the characters. I really dug the way that they advanced some of these characters in this movie. There are plot threads in this movie that are carried over from The Last Jedi that I found extremely interesting, and they also expanded upon them, which was great. And they're all really just fun and unique, and I really don't have a problem with any of the characters in this movie. There are also many character arcs that I feel like are resolved in a very nice way. Like I said, you know, this fitting in with what I said before about it being satisfied. This playing into what I said before about it satisfying my closure. A big part of that was certain character arcs that had been set up in these last couple movies that were really interesting, and I was kind of worried at how they would end it, because it's a pretty complicated situation they got themselves in. Not saying that like that's a bad thing. It is. It's a very interesting dilemma from a character standpoint, and I was very happy with the way it ended. Unfortunately, not all characters are given equal treatment. This again can be attributed to just how massive this film is. It's a little bit of a mess in the way it jumbles all of its characters together, and unfortunately some people just don't get as good of an ending as other characters do, I guess I should say. But that's just kind of something you have to deal with these types of movies. It happened with Endgame. It happens here. And the acting, while on the topic of characters, was also very good. I feel like that's to be expected, but there's a very nice group dynamic going on in this movie. A lot of the characters have just great chemistry with each other, and I feel like when they need to be funny, they're funny, and then when they also need to kind of pull on some emotional strings, they do a very good job of doing that. And I found myself tearing up a couple times myself in certain aspects of the movie, because I just got so caught up in what was going on in the story. And if, as a filmmaker, you're trying to draw your audience in, if you are able to invest them into the characters so much that you forget where you are, you forget that you're sitting in a movie theater watching a projected screen of just nonsense, then I think you've really succeeded. And the bottom line is that I really left this movie liking where it ended with its characters and with its story. That's about as much as I can really say without going into any more spoilery territories. I really think you should just go see the movie and then come back to me and we can talk some more, because I'd love to talk about this movie so long as we keep it civil, we keep it nice, calm, collective. Overall, it was a fun but flawed adventure that left me feeling satisfied at where the saga ends. I feel like overall it earns its place in this story, and if I were to do a binge watch 1 through 9, not including the anthology films, then this would serve as a fitting conclusion for sure to the saga. Not the best, but it works. I liked it. That'll be it for this video, guys. I really appreciate you sticking by and watching. It's an exciting time to be a film lover, to be a cinephile, I must say. Stay tuned for more reviews, and I will catch you later.